My video for July the 29th, 2019 is entitled Trying to Stay Balanced in an Unbalanced World. And this is video number 3161. Throughout my life, I have tried to take what might be called the middle path, or avoiding the extremes. As I see it, the areas in our lives where this is most needed are religion and politics, which, unfortunately, are two subjects many think need to be avoided. So sad. These just happen to be the areas where we are likely the most controlled, perhaps with the addition of the money system to the list. Of course, the money system is usually the driver behind the other two. All outright fraud can be traced to the money game going back all the way into our prehistory as humans on planet Earth. As I've shared in many videos, money replaced chains in the game of control. Yes, government, which is literally mind control, is where we can most easily perceive the dilemma in which we find ourselves. Those who most often rise to positions of so-called leadership infiltrate all aspects of human culture. Some refer to this as a dog-eat-dog world, although dogs would not eat other dogs unless they were starving. To me, humanity is starving for truth and reconciliation. What will it take for us to be properly nourished and restored? Once again, I struggle with trying to stay relevant with also the things that are going on in my world without putting too much emphasis on that as I did in the previous video. And, you know, I have to just add, I really like Larry and Sandy. I've always enjoyed them. From the beginning when I first moved to Florida many, many years ago now, to the present time, I think they are wonderful entertainers, and just they thrill me. And the Moose Lodge and the other lodges where I've gone to hear musical performances have always been good to me. I mean, I've never until the recent event had a problem with any of these clubs. So I trying to take the middle path when you're faced with extreme situations is a challenge. And as I said, it's government and religion where these are topics that are supposed to be off subject or off the list of things that we're supposed to talk about. And yet, if we look at it, those are areas where we have been greatly manipulated as a culture, so that through politics, nations fight other nations. Religions do the same thing. It's all been used to divide, not to unify. I was thinking, as I was sitting here contemplating this video, I was thinking about the Amish people. When they go to build a house, they get the community together, and they can put up a house in a day or in a few days at the most. They don't go through all the red tape that is required in most places anymore, that have been imposed on us by the system. And the system is one of control. It's government means controlling the mind. And when our minds are controlled, the body follows, because we are mind creatures. We are beings that can think inside a box or outside a box, and they don't want any thinking done outside the box that they, the ones who want to control everything, have created. Again, in the beginning, slaves knew they were slaves. They were told what to do and kept in chains and kept restricted in many ways. Now the restriction is, do I have enough money to accomplish what I'd like to do? Well, in my case, there's lots of things I'd like to do. And I have some lady that's trying to get me to uh, participate in a program that is run by Ellen DeGeneres. Now was the latest name that she put out, and I thought before I thought it was, you know, Bill Gates, and I don't want anything to do with that money game, and I'm not sure the RV is going to be any different when it happens, if it ever happens. I mean, we've been hearing it's going to happen. It's imminent for a long time. But how do you stay balanced with all of these contradictory stories and all of these things that pull you in one direction or another? As I said, this is a dog-eat-dog world where it's competition, competition, competition. But using dog as the analogy is not appropriate, because dogs would not eat other dogs. They just wouldn't do it unless they were starving to death, as I said in the blurb. And so it's a human destroy human culture where we do not see ourselves as connected to one another. And when we don't see ourselves as connected, it's easy to push that group or those individuals aside and say, I don't need to love them because I'm not like them. Well, we are like them. We're humans who are lost. All of us, myself included, lost on a sea that doesn't make sense, in a scene of a movie that is scripted, but we didn't script it, or at least it's not. We are not aware of any control that we have, and yet others have come on and said, but we do control our own reality. Well, all that we can control is how we respond to what happens. We don't create what happens. Oftentimes, that is the truth from a consciousness point of view. And when I say consciousness, I'm talking about being conscious. I'm not talking about some spiritual consciousness of we are all one, but we are all one. You know, see, I use a contradiction right there. We don't appear to be all one, but we are. We're interconnected because we breathe the same air. We're interconnected because there's a web of life, and we're part of that web. And we need to come back to the truth that if we don't learn to love one another, if we don't learn to cooperate, we're not going to be able to build a home that is fit for human habitation, because the world culture as it is creates a system that is not fit for human habitation. It's not designed to have us build together. Instead, what we build is mental walls. What we build is confusion. What we build is something that entraps us and enslaves us and keeps us imprisoned in a system that makes no sense. So how do you find balance in all this? It's not easy. It's not easy. I would like to be able to simply love everyone and to help people. But when you don't have the resources needed, and unfortunately money is part of that, they limit us. They, who are they? They are those that control, or at least appear to be in control. Some say they're not really, but the only thing that we can control is how we respond, as I've said again and again, and will probably say it many more times. How do we respond to this? I wish I didn't have to respond by making videos pointing out what seems insane in the behavior of others. Thank you for listening, and namaste.